Well, thank you for joining us for this second half hour of Local 3 News at 4. I'm Latrice Curry. David Carroll will be here at 5. Well, I am joined by Chattanooga Mayor Tim Kelly. And Mayor, first of all, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Latrice. It's great to see you.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, as we were talking about during the break, and we're going to start by talking about the budget. Right. So you passed a budget and you said, you're investing in things that matter to Chattanoogans and no tax increases here. However, one of the things, Mayor, we're going to dig into that, but is that there are some positions, 29 as a matter of fact, that are being eliminated. That's right. So how will those, or will they, impact the quality of services to Chattanooga and how things function here?
Well, ironically, we hope they'll actually improve the quality of services, because what this has to do is shifting priorities. There were 29 positions eliminated, 15 of which were vacant anyway. So there were 14 individuals that were affected, and I should say that's out of 2,600 total employees, so it's less than 1/2 of 1%. But the reason for this, a number of those were in community development. We're trying to get the community centers focused on the community again, and we now have community advocacy committees to help inform the community development department on the activities there. So again, it's a streamlining exercise that was necessary. We've also moved code enforcement out of community development, so it was a normal part of our efforts to reform and restructure city government to frankly be more efficient and to work better for taxpayers.
Okay, so I kind of took away from that again. The streamlining is what stood out to me there.
But I should say. Yeah, no, we're working really hard with affected employees to make sure that we've moved some already to other positions within the city, and for those that we can't find a position for, we've got transition services to help.
And that was going to be my next point. For those others, will people, if they, you're streamlining these, will they have jobs? Okay.
Well, yes.
Okay. A week ago, and people are still talking about this. It was a hoax, thank goodness, at Brainerd High School. The good news to come out of it was to see the incredible response. But the bad news is that we saw how, and we heard how, students there talked about they were traumatized from this event. To see this and to see officers coming in their schools with guns and everything. And, when you look at something like this, and you talked about this as a father, what do you say out there to our students and to our educators and people who are concerned about things like this in our community?
Well, again, it was a terrible thing as a father. It was devastating. I'm just glad that it was a hoax. Obviously, we're all, daily almost traumatized by these events of gun violence. We're really proud of the way the first responders responded. But we have to do something as a community to get this under control and increase gun violence. I should say, in the case of the hoax too, I know the TBI is working very hard to identify the hoaxer, and there are criminal penalties, and I hope that they're enforced to the fullest extent of the law. We can't have people disrupting our daily lives and traumatizing us and our children like this. So again, we can talk about guns, but one of my big focuses is on making Chattanooga emotionally and mentally healthy community, and a lot of that has to do with addressing the root causes of trauma and mental health that lead to this sort of thing to begin with.
So important, when we start talking about mental health, and this is Mental Health Awareness Month. Yeah. Also, and kind of just staying on the topic of guns violence, gun safety reform, the governor called a special legislative session for August. Obviously, this is in response to what happened at the Covenant School in Nashville, that horrible mass shooting there in March. Have you had any contact with lawmakers here when it comes to what you want to see done when it comes to out of Nashville to address this issue?
I think mayors across the country, and I'm a part of a group called Mayors Against Illegal Guns, have been very, very clear. It's not really a partisan issue. What we hear from our constituents and from the public is that the vast majority of Americans are for common sense gun reform, and there's also a recognition that we do need to address those root causes and the mental health crisis that's affecting the country post-COVID that has to be addressed as well. And there are cities and states across the country that are addressing this pretty well already. So again, I've made my wishes known and my feelings known, and I'm proud of the governor for calling the special session, and I hope they can accomplish something.
Okay, so we'll be watching that to see what happens. Let's now go back to this area where we've seen some problems here in Chattanooga, Station Street.
Yes.
Okay, so Chattanooga Police, they have what's called now the Nightlife Engagement Team.
That's right.
And I guess your thoughts on that, and then also addressing this issue and what's going on to make Station Street safer, but also where that Chattanooga still has a thriving nightlife for visitors and for citizens here.
Well, you said it well. Again, it's about balance. We need a thriving nightlife, and there's no question about that. Chief Murphy comes from Atlanta, where they have an entire nightlife squad and division. Of course, it's a much larger department in a much larger city. But we've learned a lot from studying the way they do things there, and I think the improvements that we're making down on Station Street are going to really help. I mean, we have to have safety above all else. That is always going to be my first priority as mayor, is public safety, and I think these steps are going to get us there.
Can't let you go without talking about affordable housing.
Yes, ma'am.
We just had a story on talking about how the median price in Chattanooga went from $200,000 to $300,000. Right. Obviously, Mayor, pricing a lot of first-time home buyers out.
That's right.
That is also leading to a lot of these other problems we're having when you start talking about homelessness and families not being able to find affordable and decent housing. We've talked about looking at some different options that you all have here in the city and what you're wanting to do. Where are we on this? And when it comes to making sure that kids and families have a safe and decent place to call home.
Absolutely right. It's one of my top priorities, along with public safety. And again, Nicole Heyman is building out a team, as you saw from your prior report. We have some very smart people here in the reinvestment fund to help advise what exactly we need to do. Also in this year's budget is another $3 million of federal funds to create a few hundred new affordable housing units. So it is one of our top priorities. We have a chief housing officer here for the first time. And as you say, it's also very much related to homelessness. They're two sides of the same coin, really. So we have a really fantastic team under Ms. Heyman who are working on this problem. And I think by midsummer, we'll have a toolbox of plans available for developers to really create a whole new a stream of supply of affordable housing for Chattanooga.
So there'll be more affordable housing available.
Absolutely.
Okay. Mayor Tim Kelly, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.